When you start talking about the scariest characters you've ever come across in your life, a lot of names might pop up. You might say Voldemort. The guy literally had no nose. You might think of any monster or creepy creature you've seen in movies, or even the devil himself. But for me, there's one character from a film that's far more terrifying. Every time he appeared on screen, I felt tense. He genuinely made me sweat out of fear, because this character represents what pure evil would look like if it took human form. I'm talking about Anton Chigurh from No Country for Old Men. And as you know, No Country for Old Men is easily one of the greatest movies you'll ever see. So really, you need to watch it first before going through this video, because we're diving deep into this character, and of course, spoiling the whole film. We'll break down exactly what makes him the most frightening figure you'll ever encounter. The movie opens at sunrise in Texas, where we hear someone narrating in the background. That voice belongs to Sheriff Ed Tom Bell, one of the key characters in the story. He tells how times have changed for lawmen in that area, explaining that his father and grandfather were all sheriffs in the same county. Back then, he says, lawmen didn't even carry guns. He often finds himself comparing his life with the men of the past. He admits he doesn't really understand the kind of transformations happening in today's world, which sets the stage for the true villain of the story. We first see him when a police officer arrests him and puts him in the squad car. They bring him back to the station, and that cop makes the worst mistake of his life. He sits with his back turned, chatting on the phone. Chigurh quietly walks up behind him and strangles him with his handcuffs. The cop struggles desperately, and just watching his face is enough to make you want to turn off the movie and go to sleep from sheer dread. The chain digs in until the man finally dies. And what does Chigurh do after killing him? As if nothing happened, he calmly washes his hands. We even see the dead officer's scuff marks left on the floor as Chigurh walks away. He then picks up his strange weapon, which we'll come back to later, and drives off in the patrol car. He soon pulls over a random civilian. You notice he's carrying an oxygen tank with tubes attached, and he orders the man out of his car. The guy asks, "Why, what did I do?" But just looking at Chigurh's expression, the man steps out anyway, and Chigurh walks up slowly, places his weapon against his head, and blows his brains out. That strange weapon is actually a captive bolt pistol used by cattle farmers to kill livestock quickly. This detail tells us two important things. First, human life means nothing to him, and second, he sees people as no different from animals. And of course, when he kills, he doesn't feel a thing. Now we shift to our main protagonist, Llewelyn Moss. Moss is out in the desert hunting antelope, and after taking one down, he notices a wounded dog limping by. Curious, he follows it. That leads him to a group of abandoned trucks in the middle of nowhere. He discovers a drug deal gone wrong. Everyone's dead. He looks around for money, assuming the last survivor must have hidden it. Sure enough, under a tree nearby, Moss finds another man who looks like he was trying to escape. Instead of rushing in, Moss waits patiently, like a hunter, until he's sure the guy is dead. Then he checks and finds a suitcase full of $2 million. Oddly, his first reaction isn't joy, but frustration, because he knows taking this money will bring serious consequences. Still, he takes it anyway. Later, we see him driving home through a storm, a visual warning that the cash will bring nothing but misfortune. These scenes show us Moss's character: tough, smart, and cautious, not reckless or greedy. In many ways, he seems like the ideal good man, but the truth is, he just risked his life for a bag of money, and now we'll see the price. Meanwhile, Anton Chigurh is already hunting him. Back to Anton Chigurh. His job, as the film shows, is to track down our hero. It's important to note we never really learn who he works for or whose interests he serves. The movie makes him feel like an embodiment of death. He sees himself as natural law and as judge, but his sense of justice is warped. Meanwhile, Moss goes to see his wife, carrying the money, and arranges for her to visit her mother so she'll be safe. He hides the cash in a hotel and then goes back out into the desert. There he finds the man dead, and suddenly a truck appears and starts shooting at him. Moss manages to escape, dives into a river, and kills the dog that was chasing him. He tends his wounds as best he can, and we'll leave that for now. Let's move to one of the tensest sequences you'll ever see, which shows how Chigurh thinks. He enters a small shop to buy something, asks the clerk about a can of gas, and begins what might be the worst, most foolish move of his life. He starts to talk. He asks if the clerk saw rain on the road earlier, a seemingly innocent remark that triggers Chigurh's attention. Chigurh senses something off and reacts. Watch what he does next. It's chilling how small talk turns into menace. The old man answers politely, explaining he noticed Moss's car and assumed Chigurh was from the same town. That friendly reply unnerves Chigurh. who begins to feel threatened by the man's words. See how the scene escalates. The old man grows increasingly uncomfortable. Chigurh presses him for details and the man tries to end the conversation. He asks when the man goes to sleep, and the old man stammers, giving a time. About 1:30. Chigurh then says he could come by at that hour. The fear in the old man's eyes is palpable. You can see Chigurh slowly breaking him down psychologically. The old man has no answer, and in the end, he's bewildered and helpless. Then Chigurh asks one crucial question. He takes a coin out, flips it, and tells the man to guess. The old man has no clue what the coin toss is for. Chigurh tells him it's a wager on fate. To decide his destiny, the man guesses, and when he's right, Chigurh tells him to keep the coin as his lucky charm. That moment reveals how Chigurh views the world. Fate rules, and he is simply the instrument of its will. That coin toss is terrifying because the film offers no soundtrack. The natural tension fills the silence. You feel the unease in your gut. I can't describe the scene's power. You have to watch it to understand why it's so effective. Okay, back to Moss. He meets his wife and arranges for her to leave town. He stashes the money and plans to run away until his trouble is resolved. He calls her to meet him at the hotel to hand over the cash so they can flee the country together. We return to the crime scene where Anton walks among bodies with cold politeness, asking the remaining criminals questions until one admits the bag had a tracking device. The second the informant reveals the tracker, Chigurh kills both of them. He kills anyone who stands in his way. Later, he casually arrives at Moss's house. He opens the refrigerator, takes out a carton of milk, sits on the couch. A strange, domestic calm that highlights the contradictions inside him. The filmmakers use small moments like this to show how composed and ordinary he can seem while being utterly monstrous. Protagonist, meanwhile, is holed up in a motel room, nervous and pulling the curtains shut. He goes out to fetch some supplies, and when he returns, he finds his curtains open. Someone has been in the room. He grabs a weapon, tears himself apart with fear, and moves next door to the adjoining room to retrieve the hidden suitcase he cleverly stashed between the rooms. Unbeknownst to him, Anton tracked the bag using the device. Chigurh rents the room across the hall, studies the layout, then leaves at night, and slips back with ruthless precision to reclaim the case. He waits outside the door while Moss attempts to extract the bag from its hiding place. Using his strange bolt pistol, Chigurh disables the lock and breaks into the room where the criminals had hidden. Inside, he's polite. He takes off his shoes and searches thoroughly for the suitcase. He notices the vent and opens it, but the case itself is not there. He only finds signs it had been. Moss manages to get the case and escape to another motel, paying the clerk to keep an eye out if anyone else shows up. He tries to sleep but can't stop wondering how quickly they tracked him down. He soon realizes he was too slow to react. Chigurh arrives at his door, flips the light off, and waits in silence. When Chigurh attempts to break the lock, Moss fires through the door and flees out the window. Down below, he finds the motel clerk dead. Chigurh closes in, and the two exchange gunfire. Both are wounded, but somehow Moss emerges the survivor and escapes, while Chigurh retreats. Moss heads for the Mexican border, even with a bullet in his belly. He buries the case at the border so no one will find it, and then he meets a pair of young men who take advantage of him later. Pay attention to that moment because it matters again at the film's end. He buys a jacket from one of them for $500, a small act of exploitation. A little while later, Moss wakes on a street where people are playing music. He gives them money to call an ambulance and get him medical help. Chigurh, badly injured himself, can't go to a hospital. Instead, he smashes a pharmacy window, strips medical supplies, and treats himself like a madman performing surgery with cold precision. He literally operates on his own leg with complete composure, terrifying in how clinical and calm he is. Meanwhile, Sheriff Bell continues to trail behind, a step too late. He always feels outmatched and seems like he stays safe by being cautious and avoided the big confrontations. Sheriff Bell keeps speaking about his nostalgia for the past and how frightened he is of the present, so pay attention to what he says. It's revealing. Meanwhile, Moss wakes beside a man named Carson Wells. Wells is a former mercenary who has been hired to retrieve the money. He tries to persuade Moss to hand it over and promises protection. Wells gives him a contact number and leaves, while Sheriff Bell meets Moss's wife and tells her that if her husband calls, the sheriff will try to protect him. She, however, doesn't know where Moss is. At the same time, Carson goes searching for the bag at the border and miraculously finds it. On his way back to the hotel, Carson climbs the stairs while Death himself, Chigurh, approaches. Rifle in hand, Carson realizes he's in danger. He starts sweating and pleads with Chigurh, promising all the money in the case's location. Look at Carson's face. The terror is real. Carson tries to negotiate, but Chigurh refuses any deal. The phone rings suddenly. It's the protagonist, Moss, calling. Carson answers. Chigurh hears the conversation and give her the cash so they can leave the country, but he never makes it. A gang follows her to the meeting point. She's intercepted, and they learn where she'll be. She calls the sheriff, worried about her husband, and tells him where the meetup is supposed to be, so he can try to protect them. When the sheriff reaches the spot, he hears gunfire and sees cars speeding away. Inside, he finds many dead bodies. The gang had slaughtered people there, and discovers Moss is missing. Later that night, Moss's wife arrives and learns he's dead. Before the killing, Chigurh had been nearby. His car had broken down, and when someone offered to help, Chigurh killed him and took his car. Now we return to the present. The sheriff goes to the crime scene and stands at the door where Moss died, and for the first time we really see Chigurh holding his weapon in that room. He opens the door, but there's no one inside. He looks around, even checks the windows, and finds the vent open. From this, we deduce Chigurh was there earlier, had located the suitcase by cutting the vent, taken the money, and left before the sheriff ever arrived. The sheriff then goes to see his uncle Ellis, the retired lawman, and explains he wants to retire because he can't cope with how the world has become, the violence and senselessness of it all. His uncle tells him that the world has always had violence, sharing an old story about a sheriff who was murdered in broad daylight. That tale is meant to snap him out of the illusion that things were ever simpler. After a while, we follow Moss's wife as she buries her mother. When she returns home, she finds Death, Chigurh, waiting in her room. He tells her there's no need to kill her because she has no money, and with cold indifference he offers her a choice, the coin. She refuses to play along, saying the coin doesn't decide her fate. She does. Later we see the same small motion he makes after killing others, the way he checks his boots, which signals what he's done. Unfortunately, the film implies he kills her. After that, he leaves calmly in his car. Then, in an abrupt twist of fate, his vehicle is struck by another car. The driver of that other car is thrown violently from the wreck and his arm is mangled. Despite playing the role of death through most of the movie, Chigurh is still vulnerable to ordinary accidents. An ordinary hazard can get anyone. Two children come to his aid. One of them tears off his shirt and uses it to bandage Chigurh's wound. It's a strange, almost tender moment in the middle of a story about an unstoppable force. If you've seen the film, you know there are many symbolic and mysterious scenes like this. The film invites interpretation. When you finish the movie, you'll have to decide how you interpret all these strange symbolic beats and events. And that's the video. If you watch the movie, tell me what you think about these symbolic choices and the many strange events. That's it for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe.